It's probably too many to count because I tried cold turkey, which would last for hours at best. I tried a variety of different medications. I tried slowly reducing the number of cigarettes I smoked. I would probably say I tried no less serious effort than maybe, I think the last time I counted them was like 7, but I always went back. Although I would not have believed it 4 years ago, all of that changes when you actually choose freedom. It has 100% made me a different person, or at least able to handle things that come up in life, both good and bad. I went on this hike with my brother and sister-in-law and my nieces that I never would have been able to do. I mean, my legs were certainly burning, but my lungs weren't. It really is a support system that teaches you not only why you're doing what you're doing, but how to not. I'm never going back.
Hi, everyone. This is Nasya Davos, and welcome to this episode of Ask an X. Every Ask an X episode features an inspiring CBQ program member who broke up with destructive habits and found freedom. And the X I have with me today quit smoking with the CBQ Nicotine Freedom Program, and she's here to share her story. Please welcome Jennifer Lemmon. Jen, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on quitting smoking over 4 years ago. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you so much. It is. And I would just say also that when I look back, it is really probably the what I view as my most important accomplishment throughout my life.
Wow. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that because when you shared that in our conversation, that you said getting on the other side of this mountain is the most important accomplishment of my adult life. To be honest, I was really moved by it. And I'm curious, why was quitting smoking so important to you?
Well, many reasons, but I guess most importantly is at some point started to recognize that with every cigarette, I was taking time off of my life. And, as I got older and I looked at others that I knew that had been smoking for as long as I had and where their lives were headed, I felt really desperate, actually. And knowing that I know I can do hard things, and I know I have to do this. I have to be healthier for myself, for my family. I do work that I feel is really important, and staying healthy to be able to do that, and just being able to contribute in a way that makes the world really a better place was also really important to me. And I saw all of the years I could be doing that work being shaved off by every cigarette that I had.
Wow. I'm curious, what work do you do? Helping other people in some form and capacity?
I am a union organizer, and here in the U.S. Yes. And I work with workers that are both union and non-union to help improve their lives and their working conditions.
Wow. And you love your job, I can tell.
I do. Yeah.
So you wanted to quit smoking for your health, but also so you can do what you love for way longer and help the people who need that help. That's very powerful.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
So if you were to take me back, how did you start smoking? How long did you smoke for? How much did you smoke?
I remember when I started really clearly. I was either 17 or 18. And I was at a party with some of my older friends that I worked with that were smoking. I thought they were super cool, and I wanted to try it. And from there, I smoked occasionally, not that often. But it very rapidly escalated, I would say maybe probably 4 or 5 years later. And I sort of I continued to smoke when I was around friends, but I also started to use it as a way to get away from things I didn't want to do, like to get away from a conversation, to get out of a room. Um, I spend, I need to spend a lot of time with myself, like just sort of a way I'm kind of, I don't want to say that I isolate because that's not true, but I'm socially awkward and I recognize that. And I always use it as a way to get away. And it was
Wow.
always an easy exit.
Hmm. So it became that escape, that me time. It started taking reasons and forms in your life beyond social.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trap. That's the trap. We all have walked the same path, or at least very, very similar. And for how long did you smoke before you started thinking, I'm taking away from my life. I'd like to be healthier. I'd like to quit.
Probably the first time I started thinking about that was maybe my mid 20s. Like I knew it wasn't great for my health before that, but I always told myself, "Oh, I've got time to quit. I'm young, I'm healthy. I can do that later. I don't need to worry about it right now." And then I started setting goals for myself about when I would quit, which I failed basically every one of them.
Okay. So how many times did you try to quit before
You know,
succeeding?
I mean, honest, it's probably too many to count because I tried cold turkey, which would last for like hours at best. I tried a variety of different medications, which worked to a varying degree. Some of them I would stop for even up to 6 months, but I always went back. I tried slowly reducing the number of cigarettes I smoked. I would probably say I tried no less serious effort than maybe, I think the last time I counted them was like 7.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not a lot just for the quantity. Is that feedback that, oh, this didn't work, and then we start believing that therefore something must be wrong with me, or I cannot do it, and we start internalizing those attempts. That's the worst part. It's not the 7 times, right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. It's like, by the time, time 3 or 4 rolled around, I'm sure I told myself before I even started, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So after having had all those experiences, what made you decide, or at least think or hope that this program could work for you?
Honestly, it was like a lot of the stars aligning. I was at a place where, like, during the pandemic, everything is shut down. Mostly things are shut down. I was lying to myself, telling myself that it was okay because I was going to the gym and working out. So it combats smoking. It
Mm.
makes it better. So they balance each other out, which obviously is not true. Um, but I started to realize that like I was struggling to work out through a mask at the gym. I started looking at when you're on a treadmill and the mirror is right in front of your face, my skin looked bad. And started to feel this desperation of I know I have to fix this because I've told myself so many times that I was going to do it and I failed, that I am desperate actually this time. Like I have to figure it out. And when I say the stars aligned, I was working a lot during that period of time. I checked Facebook really quickly to look for something else, and I saw the ad for CBQ.
Oh,
And I signed up for the introduction webinar. And I will say in that moment, I still thought, I don't know about this, but I have to invest in myself. I have to figure out if this is going to work because I really didn't know what else to do. I had never heard of the program before then, and I didn't know what else I could possibly try. And so it was pretty immediately after that, I decided to invest in myself and give it a try and give myself a fair chance.
wow. And the rest is history, like over 40 years later.
Yeah,
That's
over 4 years
incredible.
later. Yeah, not that there haven't been struggles. There certainly have.
Tell me about
But
that.
I'm never going back.
Mm. So what was different this time? Because you've had so many other attempts. You have been smoke-free for 6 months that you mentioned before, but went back. And now you're telling me I'm never going back. So what shifted or what happened this time that's different?
The the CBQ program really helped me. It allowed me to think about things in a way that I hadn't really, because like you get a break. But when I think about the things that actually really got me there through the program, it was it was a challenge, but it also allowed me to think differently. Like waiting before you smoke the first cigarette in the morning. It's like, oh, if I wait, I actually can wait. Like nothing bad happened. In fact, something good happened. Leaving to do normal things without taking cigarettes with me. um, Nothing bad happened. And like sort of those steps helped me realize that and gave me time to think about the fact that it is something that I could really do. And it also, because I had time to really like think about it, I realized that and took some inventory of the things that I missed because of smoking. And they seem small when you look at one by one, and they seem probably silly to mention, but I remember going to my daughter's basketball game when she was 9, long time ago. And I missed a basket that she made, which is rare when you're 9. And I I love ice hockey. I don't play, but I love watching it. Here, I watch the NHL professional games, and I went to my very first hockey game for my very favorite team in a finals, and I missed the winning goal because I went out to smoke a cigarette. Like I just think about those things, and they're small, but when you add them up and all of the things that you miss over the course of your life because you're going to smoke a cigarette, it is now really frustrating to look back at. But it was the program that gave me some space to think about like what am I missing? What am I doing? What do I want to be doing? What does the future me look like?
Thank you for sharing that. And that's very important, because if the program told you you're going to miss out on all those things and you're missing out, it wouldn't be the same as you giving yourself that space where you get to reflect, because then you have ownership over your reflection and you can do something with it.
Yeah, 100%. I would not. I mean, I would have listened if the program or someone told me that, but it would not have mattered in the same way. It's absolutely true.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. Of course. And when it came to challenges, what is something that, because 4 years, it's 4 years, life happens, ups and downs of life. What is something that became a challenge, and how did you overcome it as a non-smoker?
It's for sure, and that is absolutely true. Like life doesn't stop just because challenges are hard and you don't want to face them. There have been a lot of challenges, and just thinking about a couple of them, and not to make this sad in any way. But I do also. It's I think important to talk about how much the challenges impacted me. Maybe I guess 2 years after I quit smoking, I lost my daughter, who was 34 at the time, to addiction. She overdosed.
I'm
A
really
few months
sorry.
later, thank you. A few months later, my mother's best friend, who was really a second parent to me, passed away, and then a couple months later, I lost my dad. So, like during all of like those are real challenges that don't stop, just because you don't want to reach for cigarettes. You don't want to reach for a coping mechanism. And I'll tell you, in that moment, I did 100% think about getting cigarettes. I will not lie about that. But what stopped me, and what stops me anytime I think about it, is a reminder of how far I've come. And something that the program so clearly points out is that smoking a cigarette doesn't fix a problem. It adds to the list of problems you have. And so, like, it wouldn't have changed any of those things. It would have just added another thing, and it would have increased the risk that I have to carry around in my life, in my health. And some of the other things that I think about, and I still do to this day, on sporadic occasions, I just review the chart in the program about how your body changes when you quit, like what happens. Um, and that also helps remind how far I've come and that I don't want to go back. Um, those are two, I think, of the biggest things for me is just, recognizing how much healthier I am, how much it is actually easier to deal with stress and problems and challenges that come at you because I'm not thinking, oh, I have to go smoke a cigarette to figure this out. I do other things. I take a walk, which is healthy. I sit and focus, which is easier. And all of that, although I would not have believed it 4 years ago, all of that changes when you actually choose freedom. It has 100% made me a different person, or at least able to handle things that come up in life, both good and bad. In a different way that I would not have been able to see years ago.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Your losses are unspeakable, and to have the worst happen, because a loss like that, your dad, but also your daughter, this is the worst. To have the worst happen to you, and for you to draw empowerment from your freedom, to have that paradigm shift that it's not going to help, that I've come so far. This is truly inspirational.
I hope it is inspirational. It is. It is. It is really still hard to think about, but it also, with all of that sadness, like I couldn't do anything to change that. I am so proud that I navigated those moments and stayed true to myself and the choices and commitment I made to myself to not smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're 100% right that it doesn't change a thing. It just makes things worse, because then you add that anxiety and then you have to account for it, and you stop trusting yourself because you have to smoke a cigarette to think of the next thing, to do the next thing. And you're back to it. But also there is something else, Jen, that you clearly internalized, and it's so important. You know that 1 equals 1,000. So 1 would have taken you back completely. So that the first no is the easiest. That I'm just not gonna do it because it's not gonna do anything for me. That's the power there.
Yeah. I had a friend back home in Michigan that asked me when I saw her the last time if I ever still smoked when I was like out with friends. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I can't. I can't because I know myself. I trust myself to say no. And I also know myself that if 1 is going to equal how many years of trying to quit again, and I'm not doing it. I'm too proud of that. And I don't want to say it was hard. It takes time to figure out all of the triggers to navigate through them. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah. Yeah. 1 is enough. It's like the final time is more than enough. Absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what would you say was your biggest aha moment? Something that for you made things click?
My biggest aha moment. Um, there's maybe two. And one of them I mentioned earlier, which is really the doing things like going to the grocery store without taking cigarettes, just really demonstrated we can do hard things. Like that felt so hard. And also, it really wasn't. But it's, so there was that just, it really solidified the fact that I can trust myself to do hard things and I can do them. And then the other thing that was really an aha moment, the right before I quit, I was very sick. I had a cold and was driving in my new car, and I had committed to never smoking in the car. And I was driving to Phoenix for the holidays with my family, and I pulled over at a rest stop to smoke a cigarette. And in that moment, I lit it. And as I stood at the rest area and thinking, like, I seriously had to pull over because I've committed I'm not going to do this thing that I hate inside my new vehicle. I'm sick. I'm already like, I'm coughing, I'm stuffy, I have a headache, and I'm driving to see my family. And I've stopped during all of this to smoke a cigarette when really what I need to do is like just stop, like get rid of it. And honestly, that was, I think I smoked a half of one more cigarette when I got to Phoenix and never touched it again. Read my goodbye letter and just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing it. And I was a little scared at that moment. But it became, I don't want to say easy, but I made a commitment to myself and I wasn't going to look back. So those, I think, are the two real aha moments for me.
Mm, very interesting. So you also took power in that moment and said, that's the moment that I'm just not going to do it
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And you said you were scared in that moment, reading your goodbye letter, smoking your last cigarette. Could you remember what you were scared of?
I was scared. I think I was scared of all of the other times that I had tried to quit and failed. And even though I felt completely different and I felt like I actually embraced we can do hard things and I embraced like really looking at quitting smoking as freedom and recognizing that it was freedom and knowing that I could do it. Also, there was that just like that fear or being scared that like if this doesn't work, which is also, I mean, I recognize now was like the addictive mind telling me it was trying to sow doubt. And um, which is very, I don't know, it feels odd to then say that. And also at the same time, I was like celebrating my confidence that I was doing this and I was done.
Hmm. And do you remember, I know it's been a long time, but do you remember what is a thought that you kept reminding yourself or anything that you used mentally to just not focus on the doubts and fears of the craving mind, at least at the beginning, the first few days?
Um, I did a couple of things.
Okay.
Anytime that I thought about smoking a cigarette, I went for a walk around the block. Super easy, even if sick, easy to just walk around the block. So I did that. And I would schedule myself for the gym. Like I would just like, okay, that's what we're thinking about. Instead, we're going to spend time scheduling to go to the gym. Sometimes I would call my mom. I would call a friend. Sometimes I would sit down and get caught up on work emails. Like I just tried to substitute that with action, a variety of different things I could do. I went back to the list that I made of what are things I can do instead of. Um, so yeah, I think like all of those things. And really the most important one was connecting with other people that were non-smokers in those moments, like calling my mom, you know, getting coffee with a friend. So that was probably like the one thing that was most important.
Mm. Okay. Very, very useful. And the way you were experiencing those moments, was it a craving, or was it a smoking memory, like a reminder of what your past self used to do in certain moments? How was your
Always,
experience?
yeah, always a smoking memory.
Mm.
It was not a craving. It was not, it, it was certainly different. And it was helpful in those moments also to think about, what is the future me? What decision would the future me make right now? Is, looking at, who do I want to be and how do I get there? And, smoking a cigarette is not going to advance that for me. And so, recognizing it was a memory and then thinking about, who do I want to be and how do I get there?
Yeah, very powerful, very well said, because you step into a new identity of, I want to be the real me, the non-smoker me, the healthy me. Yes, that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
So good.
welcome. You're
And
welcome.
since quitting smoking, how has your physical health improved?
Oh, my physical health has improved dramatically. I first want to say that I have struggled with weight throughout my life. I haven't lost a lot of weight, but I never gained weight, and I am losing weight. And I think that's important because I always use that as a crutch.
Mm.
Um, and beyond that, certainly, when we were in Cornwall, I was thinking about this. I went on this hike with my brother and sister-in-law and my nieces that I never would have been able to do. I mean, my legs were certainly burning, but my lungs weren't. It's um, and beyond that, when I started the program, I was on blood pressure medication. I had high blood pressure. My blood sugar was not so high that I was on medication, but it was high, and my cholesterol was high. I advanced to 6 months after quitting smoking. My blood sugar was normal. My cholesterol was normal. And then a year later, I stopped blood pressure meds, and I don't take them to this date. So that is, those are just a few of the things that are different.
Congratulations. This is a big
Thank you.
thing.
Yeah.
Wow. And the only thing you changed was that you quit smoking.
Yes. Yes, it is.
An exercise, you mentioned. You were going to the
Yeah.
gym.
Yeah, but I was going to the gym before. I was just using, I just, in a different, I guess I thought of it differently. So yeah, really the only thing I changed was quitting smoking. It did help me think about making better and healthier choices in other areas of my life. But I didn't consciously make a decision to do anything different other than like not smoking and make different choices.
I see. Huge congratulations. This is a
Thank
big
you.
transformation. And I know you mentioned you were looking at the chart of what happens to your body when you quit smoking. I'm going to ask my team tomorrow to share with you the link to our app that also shows you how much you've saved since quitting smoking and health changes. If you want to
Oh yeah, I'd love it.
stay informed, keep track of that. I think you're going to enjoy that.
I would love it.
Perfect. So Jen, very important question. What did quitting smoking teach you?
Quitting smoking taught me, and I feel like I've said this throughout this conversation here, but quitting smoking taught me that I can do hard things in just like all areas of my life. It taught me that um, the only limits on the things that I can do are the things that I put on myself. And it also helped me look at other things that, when I said like making healthier choices, it helped me look at other areas of my life where I was doing something for unhealthy reasons, whether that's like a bag of potato chips in the corner, or like it taught me all of those things. And, to me, it sounds like a lot, but it also is 100% true that, that first Zoom webinar and signing up for the program are 100% my biggest accomplishment as an adult life and my proudest moments. And have really, I'm still the same person, but I've also really transformed who I am.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Because, it's not always easy. And tell me if you can relate to this. And I think people definitely relate to this. It's not always easy to make the decision to bet on yourself and invest on yourself and commit the time and the attention to achieving something that maybe you've never done before. There is resistance there for sure. So taking that jump, making that commitment, that investment of not just finances, but also time, attention, energy, it's the first step of transformation. I truly, truly believe that.
I 100% agree with that. It is, spending so many years smoking and failing to quit, and it certainly, other things play into it, but it is making a decision to bet on yourself and know that you can do it, is not easy. You don't want to let yourself down, and the easiest way to not let yourself down is not to try, but that's also totally the wrong thing to do. You're never going to be any different if you're never any different. And the only way to do that really is to trust yourself and to bet on yourself and to invest the time. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly. Easiest way to not disappoint yourself is to just not do it. But what happens if you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what advice would you have for someone who has failed to quit smoking many times before, 6, 7, 10 times? They have started believing that maybe I'm the problem, I cannot do it. And they have all those reasons as to why they believe quitting is going to be hard and impossible. So what would be your advice for that person who may be watching right now?
Yeah. My advice, I guess first and foremost, is that you certainly can do it. And, all of the voices that are telling you you can't do it are speaking from the addictive mind. It's speaking from a place that wants you to continue to do things that hurt yourself. So that's, I guess, one thing I would say. The other thing is that it is so absolutely true that the program is different. It's not the same as taking medication. It's not the same as, a workbook somewhere that you've done. It's not the same as cold turkey. It's not the same as trying to navigate it on your own. It really is a support system that teaches you not only why you're doing what you're doing, but how to not. And, it really is probably the biggest piece of advice, is to, like, the investment is worth it. You're worth investing in yourself, and the program works. And, I also believe that it is, you can struggle through the program and also be successful. I feel like I am an example of that. And I think that's probably the biggest pieces of advice that I would share.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that. And thank you for your trust. 4 years ago, and for being here today, for taking the time to share your story. I know that what motivated you was hopefully inspiring someone else, and I am sure that you did that, and a lot of people will find a lot of inspiration and benefit from your experience, but also your advice. So thank you so much.
I certainly hope so. Thank you.